Good evening to everyone. Those of you who are joining, I hope you are having a good New Year's Eve. Decided to go live this evening with the show because it's a year in review. Of course, we're going to have it posted on YouTube later, but just wanted to see if there's anybody out there not running the place red and probably staying home like me. This is going to be probably my first New Year's Eve at home. Anyway, you have heard it. We are in Taught the Tings, and this year was quite the year. So we're going to go through. The approach I'm taking is I'm going to go through about 25 newsworthy items. I'm also going to talk about some arts and entertainment news that was interesting in 2025. Obviously, we can't cover the whole year. The year was vast. It felt not so vast to some of us, but it was vast. And it almost feels like it's a never-ending year, and it's a lot happened, but it was not different. It was continuations. In any case, we're going to discuss those. We're going to talk about some arts and entertainment things that happened, and we're also going to do a little bit of in memoriam because we lost some folks this year. Okay, let's get going. So in 2025, one of the things that I think we can say clearly eclipsed the year, especially for those of us who are Jamaican or Caribbean, was Hurricane Melissa, the Category 5 hurricane that made landfall in Jamaica on October 28th. The estimated damage from that earth hurricane was 10 billion US. Some people said 11 billion US dollars. It impacted or direct hit Jamaica, of course, from the south coast. There was also a hit to Cuba. There was also a hit to Haiti and other places. What are the things that stand out for me in the year as we address this particular topic? There is, of course, the sadness. I felt extreme sadness. I have family members who were impacted by this hurricane. I'm talking about people being roofless and basically homeless. And so there's a lot of emotion attached, and a lot of us felt like help us kind of slow, and there was even some admission from the government that there was some slowness and various excuses why. The other thing that really stood out for me this year was the Jamaican celebrity response. I'm talking from artists to sports persons to you name it, anybody who we considered popular. I'm talking even the TikTokers. They got on board really quickly and immediately started to do their thing. Oh, hi, somebody says I'm Jamaican, Wagwan Virgin. Hi, Geneva Samuels, good to see you. Yeah, so I really, really, really was impressed with the celebrity outpour. That really stuck with me. Special mention to people like Spice, special mention to people like Shaggy and Sean Paul, who I feel went above and beyond. Also Usain Bolt. Lord knows we have done enough to him. As an island, we have not shown him the love and respect that we should have, and we can talk about that another time. But I'm telling you, he always is island first. He always is Jamaica first, and he has stepped up in a real way. So there were some people who gave a lot. We can't leave out Ramesh. Ramesh Entertainment was a big, 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 big force on the ground in Jamaica. We can't leave out Beanie Man, who was one of the first people to respond right after the hurricane. So those people, I think, deserve their props. I'm gonna play for you, however, what I this video kind of sits with me. Since the hurricane, there was some really sad moments, and this one is one of them.
The last thing I said to my sister, I called her and I said, "Sister, please be safe. Be safe." And I said, "I love you." And that was the last time.
These sisters have just returned to their home outside of Black River, Jamaica, days after a Category 5 hurricane destroyed their community and tore the family apart.
They say, let us make a chain.
Something like this?
You're going to hold on one another.
Yeah,
We're going to hold
like
on one another.
To do.
My grandson, he was the one who taking us out because the water wasn't up that much. So he was trying to escape.
Maureen Barrett was swept away by a blast of seawater as Hurricane Melissa made landfall. She was a mother of 4.
Where was your sister's body found?
Quite over across the bush over here because them.
Was it like a wave that just came through?
That's when it swept her away.
At least 28 people are known to have died from the storm, but the full impact on people's lives is far greater. Thousands are now displaced with little food and water, and aid has been slow to arrive. Just outside of Black River, we found Nicole Gowdy and her partner Oliver Stewart sheltering in their car along the road next to what was left of their house. They told us they barely survived.
We're very nervous, all tremble. And we all say, God, I wonder if we're going to dead. How ever happen to we? And we are look up in the sky and everything, and we say, God, we don't have nobody if we go cause a fear when I know. We say, we can't even open our eyes, so this storm is a sting, we so in our face is a sting, so we have to do. So we have to do.
Now, me hear my stepson ball out and say, oh God, mom, you know, want dead. You see, this side of the house was flick right over. Everything start flying. And one time I look now, I see the whole entire sea and the river come.
We had a John, kind of push me up. And we get one oil drum and put me 6 on pan it. And it float pan the water and we just lie down pan it so.
First, we must see something like this.
I don't know what experience you have getting like that.
Just over a year ago, a Category 4 hurricane hit this same coast and communities were still recovering. This time, the need is more vast and more urgent, as days pass for many stuck without basic necessities.
Right now, we all depend on medication and we don't have no cooked food for eating, no at all. See there, I dirty water where the rain fall over, but we can't do better. We have to end up drink. Can't do better.
The Jamaican government has been leading an international aid effort. The first supply convoy arrived in Black River on November 1st, and airdrops to more isolated communities are scheduled for the coming days.
So, of course, there were two things there. The sisters who lost their sister, they were all doing a chain link to, ride out the storm, and their sister literally was flung by the sea, and they found her, after. So that was really sad for me. And then, of course, you saw Miss Nicole Gowdy, who got a lot of popularity throughout and some help. And so, the Hurricane Melissa, indeed, I would think is going to be the top story coming out of 2025. And so that's why I led with that one. The rest of them, they're not in any particular order. I'm just going through the year trying to hit 25 things that I think that were important to me, that were interesting to me, and I think were interesting globally. But yeah, the Hurricane Melissa, definitely one. And of course, those of you who are Jamaican or lovers of Jamaica, please remember that, there's going to be a concert, the Stay Strong Jamaica or something, I think they're calling this one. It's going to be held in Florida, and all the names are on it: Etana, Shaggy, also, Marcia Griffiths, and so on. And they're going to be raising funds. There are other fundraising efforts that continue because, as I told you earlier, the damage is estimated to be about 10 to 11 billion US dollars. Jamaican government has taken out some loans with IMF, and lots of donations had gone in, but we are still, nowhere near full recovery as an island. The tourism sector is saying that they're pretty much ready for people to return. And on December 15, they said, we're open for business, so you all can come back. And so I've seen people going back, and they said they had a very good first batch of returning tourists and so on. So that's one way to support the island, of course, if you care to do so, or you can also give donations. So that, I think, was the number one story, especially because I'm Jamaican, and that was what, touched me the most in 2025. There are other stories. Speaking of which, we had, of course, a new president take over in the US. I call him Chitolini. He, came in strong. I don't think he misled anybody. I think he said all the things he wanted to say. He was anti-immigrant. He was racist. He did all the things, and he's been acting upon those things so far. One of the things that he's very big on, apart from anti-immigration, is also tariffs. And so, as I sit in Canada, I wanted you to get a sense of the impact of tariffs on Canada, because there have been numerous, like he went hard at first and he pulled back a little bit, and the percentages wane and go around, but the reality is that these things did have an impact and continue to have an impact. And so, um you know yeah, I'm not even going to be paying attention to comments that are silly. So let's see the impact here in Canada.
Algoma Steel just reported a loss of $87 million in the third quarter.
The stakes are incredibly high. The Canadian market needs to mature and develop. We are getting ready, as they say in hockey, we're skating to where the puck is going to be. But we're not completely in control as to whether that's where the puck is going to be.
Algoma Steel used to sell more than half of their products to the United States. But tariffs have made doing that so expensive that the American market is essentially closed now. So here, the company is trying to come up with a new way of doing business. And to do that, a few months ago, they got help. Lots of it.
You got $500 million from the federal and provincial governments. What's that money for?
Well, that buys us time. And there's nothing more valuable in this environment than time. And what we're going to do at that time is we are going to get ready to pivot to a domestic market. We're going to lower our cost. We're going to become much greener. We're going to become much flexible. And we're going to respond to what market opportunities there currently are.
The uncertainty around the company is felt most by the workers. There are around 2,700 employees at Algoma. And the $500 million government loan doesn't mean everyone will keep their job.
Yeah, I think we have to realize our position that we're not, able to stop the layoffs from happening, but we need to fight for the membership.
Bill Slater, president of one of the local steelworkers unions, is meeting with his executive team to try to figure out what to do.
What's the situation at Algoma Steel?
Dire. We have looming layoffs coming that are going to affect a lot of our members as well as the community.
Yeah, so I mean, you can catch up on those topics as I present them. You can go and do your own research, but just wanted to give you a sense of the impact on tariffs, the impact of tariffs on Canada. No, we will not become the 51st state. I think that was his intention, but you can't just break a country like that. Plus, you have rules. Congress has to approve it, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, not taking you on. So, the tariffs had an impact, and I know a lot of Americans are very silly about tariffs. They don't know that tariffs is actually a cost to them. So when they do imports, they find out. Those who have been doing shipping will know that there have been costs downloaded to them because of these tariffs and the impact it has on trade. And that just was one of the things that happened with the new president in. The other thing that has happened, there was an attack that was done on Nigeria, because, on Christmas Day, what else can you do if you're America but cause havoc? And so there was some havoc done, and here's a little bit about that.
United States forces have launched missile strikes against the Islamic State group in northwest Nigeria. US Africa Command said they were carried out in coordination with the Nigerian authorities and killed what it called multiple IS terrorists in Sokoto State. Nigeria says it was involved in the planning of the operation, and the US military posted a video showing a missile being launched from a naval vessel. On social media, President Trump described the Islamic State group as terrorist scum and accused the group of targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians. While speaking to the BBC World Service, the Nigerian foreign minister defended the military action.
What I can confirm is a joint operation between Nigeria and the US that has targeted terrorists. It has nothing to do with a particular religion. It is, as far as we're concerned, targeting terrorists that have been attacking Nigerians, period.
Yeah, so that was the Christmas Day attack that happened just recently in Nigeria in the northern areas. I have another video to play related to that, but I just want to let you know that if you think that Trump cares about Christians and Christianity, I have a hill of gold to sell you. One of the things that came out after that attack was that some of the areas that were hit have not seen ISL, ISIS, or any other form of terrorist attacks or terrorist activity. And here's a little bit about that.
So now we know that the village that Trump bombed in Nigeria itself says that there was zero ISIS activity there whatsoever. They have no idea why they were bombed. It certainly wasn't to go after these Islamic terrorists. It's a manufactured war, because not only do Christian and Muslim leaders in Nigeria say that there is no Christian genocide, we also know that Nigeria has massive oil reserves. It has the second largest proven oil reserves in all of Africa, the 10th largest in the world, and it has a massive lithium deposit as well. This is old school colonialism manifesting in modern day 2025 America. The number of people that have been killed by US aid being shut down already is approximately 700,000 globally, tens of thousands of those in Nigeria. By shutting down US aid, Trump has already killed more Christians in Nigeria than anyone else ever could have. And this number is estimated to be 14 million globally by 2030, unless we continue to fund US aid again. And by the way, that budget of 23 billion for the entire year is a fraction of the $1 trillion we are spending on war and bombing. So if you actually cared about money, you wouldn't be whining about 23 billion. You'd be focused on stopping the military industrial complex that is spending $1 trillion of our taxpayers on war and destruction. But
what we found this year is that there are two types of politicos, right? There are people who feel that war is necessary, especially because they want to make sure that entities like Lockheed Martin and so on continue to make missiles and tanks and so on are sold. And then there are entities who are, especially of the younger generation, and are like, why are we in war? We don't want war. We never asked for war. No, thank you for these wars. And it's very amusing to me that that president who wants a Nobel Peace Prize keeps attacking people, keeps doing missile attacks. Anyway, it's this was part of the ongoing thing this year. The other issue that we saw, speaking of attacks, was impacting the Caribbean. And so I'm from the Caribbean, so this one I keep watching very closely. Trump through his administration attacked fishing boats near Venezuela. And now, recently, as of December 29th, they did a strike on land. Trinidad has a role to play here because the Trinidadian Prime Minister has allowed for docking of U.S. military ships just outside of Trinidad. CARICOM seems to be very quiet on this issue. And there have been about 29 boat attacks, and at least 107 persons have been killed. And among them, without a doubt, there have been innocent persons killed, not to mention potential war crimes that have happened as it relates to this. So I just wanted to show you a little bit around the Venezuela thing, right? Because it's very interesting.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement.
Yeah, so that was the attack on December 29th. And don't you think I don't have a hill of gold to sell you if you think it was about anything he just said about the launching area for the boats there was no fentanyl that goes from Venezuela to America. Anyway, here is his real reason.
Just a blockade. We're not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago. And we want it back, but they took it. They illegally took it.
The level of stupidity that that man possesses is beyond me, but he's also very witty, very not witty but slick. And so he's managed to throw out quick cliche terms, quick sound bites that people latch onto and think it's truth and don't do their own research. But that's what's been going on in the Caribbean. And I also wanted to play for you the Trinidadian Prime Minister because I feel she's very interesting here, on her take on why she is helping the US.
They've cut their visas. Which Trini wants to cut their visas? So behave yourself. Understand where our help comes from. Understand who could protect and defend Trinidad and Tobago. Right now, there's only one country in the world can do it. They have the money, they have the equipment, they have the assets. And Trinidad and Tobago first. I thought I would share that with you, but it goes further. Over 250,000 Trinis live in the United States. You understand? 250,000 Trinis regularized across there live there. And right here in Trinidad, apart from the 350,000 holding US visas, you have about 20,000 Trinis who are dual citizens, meaning US and Trinidad and Tobago. So what's the problem? So it's all well and good to take the people visa and go to Florida and shop and go wherever and shop. Huh? So just leave the people alone. Leave them alone. Because I don't want a single Trini or Tobagonian to lose their US visa. If it happens, it won't be because of me. We remain in partnership with the United States of America. So let's live with that. And let's continue to prosper together. So if anybody comes to attack Trinidad and Tobago, whom you think will stand up to defend us?
Kamala Bissessa, the PM of Trinidad and Tobago, she actually really stresses me out. So now we're helping the US for visas. I don't know. I'm very concerned that CARICOM is not commenting and getting involved. And I'm very concerned that, she has this old world mentality, and this fear of the US, the mighty US. If you really follow the news earlier this year, you'll find out that Trinidad and the US were at the table with Venezuela trying to make a deal regarding oil. And then a certain person, Mr. Rubio, decided that he didn't want a deal. He wanted to destroy their regime. And so I've told you before, I do not sanction any horrible regimes or despots, but I also believe that sovereign nations should not be attacked unprovoked. And this is what is happening, is what is playing out. And the American Congress has decided that they will sit on their hands and let the president and his team run rogue. And so it is impacting the Caribbean. And we have seen that this year. That was one of the things that had an impact. Staying in the Caribbean, the other news coming out of the Caribbean was that Jamaica had its election, and the third term was won by Andrew Holness. He won 35 seats, but the PNP, the opposition, led by Mark Golding, that team won 28 seats, where they got 14 seats they got back from the Jamaica Labour Party. One of the things coming out of Jamaica this year, as we wrap up the year, is that we may just end the year with less than 700 murders. Those of you who live in countries that don't have a lot of crime, you may not know that this is a significant drop in crime in Jamaica. Some can credit the lull that comes from having a massive hurricane, 2 months of lull, but there's also been a decline continually throughout the year in certain types of crime, and that is murders. There are other crimes that actually escalated, but as it relates to murders, we're ending the year under 700 in Jamaica. So that is significant to note. Another news item that happened in 2025, American Pope. There was an American Pope who was put in place. Robert Prevost was elected as Pope Leo the 15th, I believe, or the 14th, following the death of Pope Francis. Provost was born in America, and he is now sovereign of Vatican City. He's the first pope to have been born in the United States and the first to hold either a U.S. or Peruvian citizenship, the first from the Order of St. Augustine, and the second after his immediate predecessor, Pope Francis, from the Americas. That was a big deal for those who are Catholic. I'm not. I really could care less. I do find him interesting. You'll notice that a certain president of America does not really care for him because the last two popes, him included, will be critical of America, especially on their anti-immigration stance and anti-migrant stance. So he will give them a little bit of a run for their money, like the other pope was doing. The other thing I wanted to point out that happened this year that a lot of people probably did not pay attention to. This was earlier in the year, around about February 23rd. Germany had elections, and something was going on in Germany. Far-right populist party, the Alternative for Germany, the AfD party, was of course quite controversial because they're anti everything, especially immigrants, and extremely racist. Guess who was up in there funding, speaking at their events, and supporting and pushing for this party? Germany has done so much to get beyond its Nazi years, and here comes Elon freaking Musk again with the funding of parties. So he funded this party. He was closely connected to many far-right accounts via comments and reports. He, of course, used X to help, drum up some users worldwide. And, the Alternative for Germany did get some wins, but did not win the election on February 23rd. And we can breathe a sigh of relief, but we know that the elements like Elon Musk will continue to keep chugging at this. And so that was one of the news items in 2025. Another news item in 2025 was the Air India flight, flight 171. I was talking to some friends about this, and they said they did not recall this incident because so much has happened in the year. And I can agree that, it's hard to keep up with everything. That's why you do a year in review. So the Air India flight 171, it crashed in June of 2025. It was a Boeing 787 operated under AI 172, was headed from London to Ahmedabad, and it crashed shortly after its turnaround, killing 242 people on board and 19 people on the ground because it landed literally just outside the airport in a residential area. And there was one lone survivor. So on June 12th, that man must be kissing his, all the omens and lucky stars because he survived a crash that took out 242 passengers and 19 on the ground. The cause of this, is not clear because the flight was actually okay going in to India, but leaving, no, the flight was okay going into London, and leaving London, but getting into India and taking off, we don't know what happened there. So that was interesting. Another thing that happened in American news, there was the No Kings protest that happened on June 14. The No Kings protest was also known internationally as the No Dictators, No Tyrants protest, in a series of political demonstrations, largely in the United States, against what the organizers described as authoritarian policies of President Donald Trump and corruption in his administration. It was good to see the numbers. If you can recall, I was going to pull up images for this, but let's just keep moving. The thing with that protest, like it happened almost every city in America, had thousands of persons out there. The challenge I have is what happens next, because now the protest happened, and then what? then what? Because there was no manifesto, there was no major request from politicians. Politicians went and made speeches and so on, but he continues to rule unfettered. He continues to take America down a very distinct dark path. So I don't know. I don't know if we're really doing what we should be doing there. But yeah, it was good to see that some people got out of their homes. A lot of people were interested to see if Black Americans would get out, because Black Americans said we did our thing. We voted how we were supposed to vote, and we get somebody else to do it. We're not coming out. So quite a few went, but not enough. Not the numbers that you would expect. But don't worry, these things are also a trap. So I think Black Americans did the right play there, because people who are anti-Black Lives Matter and anti-Blacks, they would probably have stoked violence at these protests and then blamed it on them. So it's best to sit it out. Let the others fight for their country that they claim they love. The other thing is that we have ongoing conflicts. And so I've kind of smashed all of them into one here. We have the Israel versus Palestine situation. Israel says it's against Hamas based on an attack that happened now 2 years ago. But the bombing continues. And what we found was that one of the things that happened last year, actually, a group that I really like is World Central Kitchens. They lost members of their team because they were bombed en route to go deliver aid. In any case, we enter August 2025, there was famine declared in Gaza. So far, the numbers have shown that the Israeli army has at least taken out 25,000 Palestinians in 2025 and injured 62,000 others. We also have the other global conflicts that don't get a lot of airtime but are still going. Sudan's conflict, it's a devastating civil war that has been going on since 2023. The Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces stemming from a power struggle between their leaders and a military coup and so on that has ensued. So that continues. We also have Ukraine versus Russia. That continues. We had this year the very infamous meeting of Trump and Zelensky, and in the White House, and we saw how rude they were to Zelensky. Just for note, for those who don't understand global politics, you should understand that one of the things that happened to Ukraine made a pact. Ukraine made a pact with NATO that they would give up their nuclear weapons. In return, NATO nations should protect them from Russia. And that protection can be military protection or support. And so when you see other countries are helping Ukraine, it is because of that pact. You guys wanted to denuclearize them, and in so doing, left them vulnerable to attack from Vladi and his people. And so when you see Zelensky going to America, going to Canada, going to Europe, and asking for funds, it is because of this pact. It is because of this promise that they would help him, they would protect him. They left him bare, and the attacks continue. A number of people have died in that conflict. And continue to die. And of course, it's always going to be over minerals, because, as you know, a certain gentleman that is, I can't call him a gentleman, but a leader of the American government, he and Russia are trying to get their hands on mineral resources. They tried to do a Ukraine and U.S. mineral resources agreement earlier this year. And we'll see what happens there. They basically want Zelensky to give up everything for nothing. So we'll see how that goes. I predict that this, of course, will continue into 2026, like all the other conflicts that we're listing here. We also have the Congo conflict. In 2025, we saw a major escalation with the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels capturing key eastern cities like Goma and Bukavu, causing massive displacement and humanitarian crisis. And this continues. Right now, if you look at the Congo, there are 25.6 million people who have food insecurity and displacement. That is a quarter of their population. Their population is about 112 million people, and a quarter of that population is currently dealing with food insecurity and displacement from this conflict. So, as you know, we look through the year and we get into 2026, we know this conflict will continue because there's no peacekeeping coming from the US. It's always about what resources they can get. Even with the Nigerian attack, don't think that they care about Christians. Nigeria is number 10 in the top 10 of crude oil reserve countries holding crude oil reserves at a high amount. And so don't think it has nothing to do with that. Don't think it doesn't have to do with the other thing that I'm going to talk about soon, which is the Sahel. Anyway, so that was one of the truncated things. I pulled about 4 conflicts into one because we have ongoing conflict. I saw a presentation recently that said 41% of the conflict related attacks that happened in 2025 were from the Gaza and the Ukraine situation. So that's how much attacks are happening on a regular basis. Speaking of attacks, of course, Iran has gotten into the mix. In June of 2025, Iran launched missiles into Qatar in retaliation, they said, for the United States strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities on the 22nd of June. They have also now vocalized that they will be going after Trump, after Bibi, and anything else as any attacks come forward, because Israel is promising to do some attacks on them. So that's going to be an ongoing thing as well to look at in 2026. The other interesting news I found, like there's no order to importance of these items. I'm just pointing out 25 interesting things that happened in 2025. So now we're on to the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh my goodness. So we know that a certain orange fellow in the White House wants the Nobel Peace Prize, really, really wants it, mainly because Obama got it. But he really, really likes accolades. He likes to be praised. He's a narcissist. And so he's been going after the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, the Nobel Committee decided that they would honor instead Maria Machado, who is from Venezuela. She's the opposition in Venezuela, even though she is banned from running in elections there. She has been interesting. So when she received the Nobel Peace Prize this year, she dedicated it to the head of America, the current head of America. She dedicated it to him. So we already see where her alliances are. She then, since then, has been going around. She's gone to meet in Europe. She's gone to meet with US officials, and she's basically pitching to them what a post-Maduro Venezuela would look like if she gets in power. So they're working on regime change, and she's hoping that in the regime change, she is the replacement. And if she's a replacement, she is planning and promising all manner of things as it relates to oil access. You will know that some time back, the US was kicked out, in essence, not fully kicked out. Chevron's still there, but Shell was kicked out of Venezuela because the government then under Chavez wanted to make sure that the resources benefited the country. Because what was happening were they were being paid a fraction of the value of crude oil outside of Venezuela, and so they pulled it back in. The US hates that. That's one of the reasons they're going after them. So that is going on, and I expect that will continue because Miss Nobel Peace Prize is a friend to you know who. On a sad and interesting note, this year was also where we saw Charlie Kirk get killed. This was a significant thing. September 10, Charlie Kirk, an American right-wing activist and influential ally of President Trump, was assassinated on a campus at an event that he was hosting or he was holding. He does these campus things to infiltrate campuses with his ideologies. And so he was in Utah. And this, of course, prompted a lot of reactions, both domestically and internationally. The right wing in America basically wants to make him their savior. They want us to ignore that he was also a racist. He said everything from if he got on a flight and he knew that the pilot was black, he would feel worried because he doesn't think he's qualified, even though everybody knows that everybody black has to work 10 times as hard to get anywhere. Plus, all of these entities have regulations and rules and expectations. But no, the ignorance of racism is that you pitch these cliches and you pitch these sound bites out to a hungry mass, to give them meat to feed on. And Charlie Kirk was big on that. He disrespected black women continually. Even Nicki Minaj, who's in, my other stories, he said she should not be a role model for young girls, and yet here she is at turning point. But we'll talk about that later. So that was a big deal. Charlie Kirk assassination. There is no way we will condone assassination. I will never condone assassination of anyone, no matter what, even if you're guilty. I'm anti-violence, but then making him into a martyr and then making him trying to smooth over, sane wash, pretend that he didn't do certain things, that doesn't sit well with me either. It's either we stay quiet or we tell the truth. That's it. Don't sane wash him for me, because unlike a lot of you, I used to follow all that he was doing, not as a follower or believer, but to watch what he was doing, because Turning Point USA is very intriguing as we talk about the right wing appealing to younger white males in America, appealing to their sense of loss of their power and all of these things. Charlie Kirk inserted himself very uniquely and specifically into the happenings on campuses. And so don't sane wash him for us. We say rest in peace. We don't wish for any ill to come of any humans, but let's not sane wash him. So that was another news item that happened. The other thing that happened, of course, we had World Athletic Championships, and Shelley and Fraser Price from Jamaica, our pocket rocket, said adieu to the track world for now. You never know. I always leave room for people who are talented if they want to come back into a sport or if they want to come back into the arts. But that happened this year. Also, very interesting and intriguing. Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene, she announces that she is stepping down from Congress. So there's some interesting things here. we we can't ignore that Marjorie Taylor Greene had certain allegiances, and she's also trying to sane wash. She's definitely trying to sane wash and trick us. Not tricking me at all. I know exactly who she was. I know exactly who she aligns with. And no matter how many times she argues with him in public now, that doesn't change the truth about her. And that doesn't change who she has been and has presented herself to be, to the globe, really. Over time, she has been that girl. She has been pro MAGA, pro all the things that are extreme right wing. Let me show you this one. So don't sane wash her. Don't sane wash her. So she says she's going to resign as of January 5th. The rumor was that she wanted a Senate seat, and her favorite person here in the picture said that he would not endorse her for the Senate. And so when she decided that she was going to go against him, she says the bridge too far, or the straw that broke her back, was the Epstein files, and that when she spoke to that guy, Cheeto, about it, he says he can't release the files because it will hurt his friends. Ergo, alluding to his friends are in the files, and so he just can't have it released. And she said that was a bridge too far. However, as soon as she started speaking badly about him, she also has been experiencing death threats. and significant changes to her safety. And so, everybody was saying, when you were dishing it, you didn't know that they would do it to you, right? So they are doing it to her, and so we'll see. January 5th, she's done. We also anticipate that she's not done. I am predicting that she will resurface in podcast land. She is going to try to compete with the Tucker Carlsons and so on to get that right wing audience. She thinks she has an angle with maybe the right wing women. Other pundits feel like she wants to make a run for leadership, that she might end up running for president. That would be foolhardy. Anybody who thinks America is ready for a female president, I have another hill to sell you with gold. So we'll see, but that was one of the big stories that came out this year. So that's Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll see. The other thing that was interesting. Speaking of Miss Taylor Greene, we also have the Epstein files, and so that was also interesting because, you know, I think one of the things that must be said here, people think, I really do think people think that those who want the Epstein files and those who are on the left or even center who want to see the Epstein files released, I think people think that they wouldn't want it released if they got some wind of some sort that Democrats were in the file. I want to disabuse you of that information. If Democrats are in the file, we don't care. Release the file. So here's one of the things that they did when they released the file. So you'll see in this photo here, it says the White House was facing backlash over misleading Epstein files photo. So in the small box, they blocked out Michael Jackson's kids and Diana Ross's youngest son. This photo has nothing to do with Epstein, but they managed to flip it in there to try to, say, hey, there's Clinton, there's Michael Jackson, there's Diana Ross, all the people that you guys laud, they're in the files. And then we see the real picture, which is in the larger square. They did not block out some abused persons. These are their children. And this picture actually has nothing to do with the files. But this is how they decided to release these highly redacted Epstein files this year. If people think they're going to really release it and redact an unredacted version, I would not hold my breath. I think the Epstein thing, however, goes into 2026. For some reason, people are definitely interested and intrigued. And, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they ran on that stuff. She was a QAnon person. She was a big believer in the Epstein file. Some of these people believe that the upper echelons of American politics is being run by pedophiles and all of that stuff. Who knows? Who cares? Sometimes this stuff is just distraction, I would say. But yeah, so those pictures are in the so-called files, and we're not getting to the meat of the matter. Everybody knows that Trump and Epstein were besties for at least 10 years. So release those. Stop, with the redacted games and release everything. As a matter of fact, they released a lot of images with Bill Clinton because he used to affiliate with Epstein. He used to go to his island apparently, and they had a picture of him in a hot tub, and Bill Clinton says, okay, let me tell you something, I'm not afraid of anything in the files, release the entire thing. And I'm like, ooh, look at you, Bill, you fighting like I don't know, Bill, I don't know, after the Monica Lewinsky thing, I don't think people believe him, but he's not afraid, he says. So he says, release the whole thing. So there's that. So we'll see. I expect that will continue into the new year. The other thing that will continue and has been going on for a while is the Central Sahel, the activities that are happening in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They have been, they've been leading demands for French troops to leave their country. They have ended years of presence and counterterrorism efforts. As you know, the French are seeing them as anti-French, but they're like, no, 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 we're done with you guys. Get out of here. We don't want to use your money. We don't want to use your language. All of that is going to change. So I expect that to continue into 2026, but that's definitely been going on in 2025. A lot of people are watching the Sahel. Of course, my guy Traore, I'm watching him. I'm on the fence about him, but anybody who's anti-colonialism, I'll give you a look at least for a second. So that I expect to continue into 2026. The other thing that is going on, we have the Grand Slam track. They filed for bankruptcy. So I don't know if if you're a sports fan, if you keep up with sports, this was a big news for those of us who are sports fans. And this impacted, this is a global impact. So Michael Johnson, who was a big 200-meter star for America, he formed this Grand Slam track event. And the intention was to run just like the world champs and so on, to be a contender in terms of top sporting events. The challenge, I think, and if you know him, if you pass this on, a challenge he had started from the launch. He decided to launch the event in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica. That's an honor. Jamaica kind of hurried and finished or renovated stadium. We were ready to go. We looked good. Here is the challenge. He launched it the weekend after champs. Anybody who knows anything about track and field in Jamaica know that you cannot launch you can't do anything near champs, because champs, for those who don't know, is the high school track and field competition that shows us who's got next for Jamaica, who's going to end up representing us at world championships, at Gibson, at Olympics. This is like a premier event. So when everybody has spent their money flying in, like I've flown in for champs, when you fly in and you do all that stuff, you're not going to fly back the next week for the Grand Slam. So the attendance was poor, very poor in Jamaica. And that continued to haunt him because each staging since was poor attendance. He could not get some of the big names either. And apparently he owes people like Sydney McLaughlin Lavron. He owes her $350,000 in winnings. He couldn't get the big names, like Noah wasn't going to go. All these people were looking skeptical at it. It's the first year, they don't really want to go, but he needed the big names to also sell it. Because I think extra people would have made an effort to go in all of the stagings if they thought they would see stars. So that's a bummer, because now he's out millions of dollars and they are in bankruptcy. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was something interesting. Another thing that happened, I'll show you a video for this one. So here's the thing. I'd say about a month within the last month, Chitolini has been bashing Somalis and talking about Minnesota and the fraud in Minnesota and so on. Let me tell you something about his style. He has this style of creating big news and chaos where it doesn't even need to be. And why I'm saying that is because the fraud that happened in Minnesota actually is a COVID-related fraud. And when they were giving all these government grants and so on during COVID, this fraud happened from then. And actually, the masterminds had already been known, had already been arrested. There was like 78 persons involved and 39 were already charged before we got to this year. But this year, in the last month, Chitolini went off his rocker. And anybody who tells me he's not racist, good luck to you. I have another hill to sell you with gold. So listen to this, because this is a report from before 4 this year.
The very quick verdicts against Amy Bach and Salim Saeed come after a nearly 6-week trial. The jury saw hundreds of pages of documents, false meal claims, fake invoices, million-dollar checks, testimony from some of the 37 people who've already pled guilty. For prosecutors, the evidence was overwhelming. They say that Amy Bach knew. She submitted every false claim, wrote every check of the nearly $250 million in fraud. Bach's attorney sees it differently.
Amy's testimony was compelling. She answered all the questions that could have been answered.
He said he's shocked that she's now being detained until sentencing since she has no passport and no money, living with her parents. He was asked if she may express remorse at sentencing.
If there's any remorse, it's because of her children. I will go to my grave knowing, because I've reviewed the evidence, this is an innocent woman.
Salim Saeed is also now in custody, convicted of far more counts than Bach and described as one of the largest perpetrators of fraud. Nearly 30 defendants still await trial, but these quick verdicts just might bring more plea deals, prosecutors say.
So, black folks don't have certain luxuries in the world. When there's bad news, if one person does something, the whole world comes down on the group. And this is what happened with the Somalians. I will never join you in anti-immigrant sentiments. I will never join anybody in anti-immigrant sentiments because I know that so goes my time. So here's the thing. Amy Bach was the mastermind. She's not Somali, but she has managed to be unscathed. As a matter of fact, people forgot about her. And as Trump was going in the last month on them and calling them all kinds of names in Minnesota and getting his right-wing people to call for, the Minnesota governor to be taken out of office. And this has been litigated. This has been dealt with. But here we are in racist state of affairs where all of Somalis are now considered bad because of this incident. So, just keep in mind, you can Google it for yourself. Amy Bach, Aimee, Bach. Look her up because she's actually the mastermind. And so there was a guy who was going around this week and went and did videos, but he did a very deceptive thing because he went to spaces that were actually not affiliated with this fraud. There were daycares that were closed down, but that was because they were in other types of violation, other like regulatory violations. They weren't closed down for fraud. He also filmed at the back of a building when the front of the building had already transformed. It's a restaurant, has been a restaurant for quite some time. So anyway, you got to do your own research, folks. Don't be taking everything you see online as gospel. So that has happened. We saw the racism unleashed. They're not even keeping it secret anymore, folks. They're talking out loud and proud. And so those of us people of color, those of us black folks, we got to be careful out there because it's not a safe world. The other news that happened this year in New York, Zohran Kwame Mandani. Zohran Kwame Mandani has been considered now the mayor-elect of New York City. He is a member of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Socialists of America, and he is going to be the first Muslim and Asian American mayor. Now, Mandani was also a New York State Assemblyman for the 36th District since 2021. So fairly young in politics. He was representing Queens and the neighborhood of Astoria, and now he is going to, as of January, become the mayor of New York. And apparently he has asked Bernie Sanders to swear him in. So that was pretty big news because here's the thing. People used it to hit on the Democrats because the Democrats are very foundational and status quo. And, the leadership of the Democratic Party didn't want to endorse him because he was very, very left and they want to be center of left and all this stuff. And he won handily. I mean, the competition was crap. Like nobody wants to see Cuomo, who was the former governor, become the mayor. Nobody wants to see that. But yeah, he made an impact despite the racism that was hit against him. They wanted to, use even the Israeli Gaza issue against him. They tried everything. He used a very good ground game. The Democrats can learn from that. I'm talking about the knocking door to door and calling, and he had a very good social media game. He had a very good campaign. People should pay attention to the strategies that he used. But that was one of the news items this year. A comical special mention that I want to do is for the Jamaica Constabulary Force's social media. Particularly, I follow them on Instagram. Listen, if you are in any city that's fighting crime, go and check out what they've been doing. If you understand it, some of it is very colloquial, some of it is very it's very culturally specific what they do. But today they had a video up of a young woman that's like walking down an aisle. It looks like it's gonna be a wedding or a love story, gone really good, or an engagement. And then at the end of it, they said, when are you gonna turn him in? So you have to see it. I want to do a special shout out to them because this year they were serving. This year they were serving for sure. So that was interesting. Another thing that happened this year was the Australia attack. There was the victims of the Australia attack that happened on Bondi Beach. This was an anti-Jewish attack from what we can see, from all intents and purposes. The persons who lost their lives in this, there was a 10-year-old girl, a British-born rabbi, a retired police officer, a Holocaust survivor. Can you imagine surviving Holocaust and coming into this scenario in Australia and losing your life? Australia has very strong gun laws, and they have now promised to be even stronger, which is something we can't get a commitment from in the US. This was the first attack in many, many years. So it was an anomaly and took everybody by surprise. Special mention goes out to the Bondi Beach hero. His name, let me find his name. He's actually Ahmed Al Ahmed. He is a Sydney shop owner, born and raised in Syria, and he tackled one of the two shooters from behind and wresting a long arm gun from him. Here's the video.
Oh! C'est un malade! Oh mon gros! Oh! Ouais, mais il y a son pote, il va se faire tirer dessus! Il est trop con le mec qui a l'arme.
بس والله شو بدي اقول لكم، مريت بمرحله الله بيعلم.
بدك تقول لحدا الا لامك؟
امي
مو حكيت معه
يا فلتة الكبدي لا دعينا يا ايام.
حكينا معه
الله يطولنا بعمرك، وان شاء الله عرضيه ان شاء الله، وكتر الله سعيكم. وايش بدي اقول لكم والله العظيم.
Very heroic, very heroic. He got injured in the process. He got shot. If you caught it in the video, you'll see that when the police arrived, he knew, he put his hands up. He didn't try to engage any further because he knew he could have been shot by the cops because, people of color know. Special mention to him because he, put a stop, in essence, to the attack that was ongoing at that point. So, special shout outs to him. So that happened this year. The other thing that happened this year, kind of funny, kind of weird, kind of strange. This was kind of on TikTok online, mostly we saw it. The rapture. Yes, the rapture was supposed to happen in September. I wasn't even paying it much mind. September is my birth month. I was distracted. And then one day I see it in my feed and I see, hundreds of people gathering, waiting to be taken up. And then the different pastors who had told them that the rapture was coming was apologizing because he got people to sell their stuff. leading up to this. Come on, guys, stop falling for foolishness. And then there's another fraudster that surfaced just in time for Christmas. He's called Ebo Noah because he has been promising that there would be floods at Christmas, and so he was getting people to send him money to build arks, and he did build some arks, but he also has purchased a very pricey car for $89,000, a Benz, and he was seen at Rapperholic in 2025. This guy let's see a little bit about him.
They say money can't buy salvation, but for one self-declared prophet in Ghana, it may have bought him a luxury car. Ghanaian content creator Ebo Enoch told his followers that a catastrophic 3-year-long global flood would begin on December 25th and wipe out humanity. Claiming he was the receiver of divine instructions, he urged supporters to fund the construction of modern-day arks to survive the apocalypse. Many of his followers say they donated money, sold belongings, and gathered at sites where Enoch showcased around 10 arks. Then Christmas Day came. No flood, no apocalypse. Enoch told his followers that God had postponed the disaster, saying he'd been granted more time to expand the Ark project. But critics say the only thing that expanded was his lifestyle. Social media users allege Enoch used donations to buy a $100,000 Mercedes, a claim now circulating widely online. Commenters joked that the prophecy didn't end in a flood, but rather in leather seats. Enoch has not publicly responded to the accusations.
Enoch is a hot mess, and people shouldn't follow these idiots. So yeah, that happened this year. Help. We have 2 more items in the 25 to go. Hong Kong high-rise fire. So this happened in November 26th. The Wong Fuk Court apartment complex in Tai Po, Hong Kong, was consumed. 7 out of 8 blocks of the entire complex raged for 43 hours, causing 161 people, including 1 firefighter, to perish in the fire. 79 were injured. Most of the casualties were found in their apartment. A lot of safety concerns to consider here. Those who keep up with how people live in Hong Kong and other countries weren't necessarily surprised by this, but definitely a sad, devastating thing that happened this year. Another thing that happened as it relates to fires was the Palisade fires in Los Angeles, and that kicked off the year. Very early in the year, we saw that fire, January 7th to be exact. The Palisade fires was highly destructive. It began in Santa Monica Mountains of Los Angeles County and grew to destroy according to Gallagher Reinsurance Brokers, total global insured loss for the first 9 months of 2025 for natural catastrophes and climate-related events was estimated at $105 billion, making it the 6th consecutive year with losses of more than $100 billion. 30 people apparently died in that travesty, that crisis. So yeah, that's it for news items that came out of 2025. That was 25 in 2025. Now, there are some other things that I wanted to talk to us about, and we're going to go over into the arts segment. What a year. What a year for arts and entertainment. So, first, for those of you who don't know, Brian McKnight is basically canceled. The primary scandal that he's affiliated with is his highly public and ongoing estrangement from his 4 eldest biological children and his first wife, Julia McKnight. And he's also had like a defamation lawsuit with Jaguar White, but we're not dealing with that. We the people, are not feeling him. He has been obnoxious, rude, disrespectful to his birth children, because he's now started a new life. He had a son named Brian before, and under his new life, he's named his new son Brian as well, saying that's his real junior. I mean, just some obnoxious, no good stuff. So we've basically canceled him in 2025. I see that he's coming to somewhere in Canada. May he not have any audience. The other thing that happened in 2025 was, oh my gosh, Nicki Minaj. I don't know what she's about. I don't know what she wants. I don't know what she's up to. But she was a surprise guest at the Turning Point USA congress, whatever they were having, led by Erica Kirk, who, side note, morning is very interesting for her. I'm yet to see it here. So Erica Kirk had her and did an interview with her. And Nicki Minaj is so frustrating. So first, let me say this. I understand that she did help out some artists who were doing hurricane relief in Jamaica. So I'll give her credit for that. I'm trying to decide what this is. I'm trying to decide if this is a new money grab for her, if this is a part of what happens when you are, when Black Americans go after success, they sometimes forget community and focus very individualistically. I don't know if it has something to do with her husband's alleged issues with abuse charges and whether or not she wants pardoning. I don't know if it has to do with what people say is her $20 million mansion is in danger of being lost and maybe she needs the money to like back it up because she's being sued and so on. I don't know for sure what this is, but it is yucky to say the least, because not only has she been pretending that she cares about Christians all the way in Nigeria, Nigeria is a sovereign nation, and if they have an issue, they can defend their own. But yeah, she's acting like this is something. She went to the UN. They gave her a platform to speak on this issue like she cares. Nicki Minaj, come on. We see your music. We see how you talk online, how you bash women. Then she goes on this platform and bashes Black women and telling Black women not to bash white women. It was... just look.
I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win and to do it with your head held high and your integrity intact. This administration is full of people with heart and soul, and they make me proud of them. Our vice president, I love both of them, but they're both powerful men, smart, strong, all of that, but both of them have a very uncanny ability to be someone that you relate to. I can relate to them. When I hear them speak, I know that they're one of us. Like, I know that they're not... Don't you guys agree? They haven't lost touch of the world. They're still connected to the world and what's happening in the world, with the younger people and older people, with the richer people and not so rich people. They have the ability to still connect and be real and make us feel proud to be American. And for young men, don't be new scum. You have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. And you have amazing role models like the assassin, J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine. I love you. And you say what you want to say because I know your heart. I will not judge that.
Sister. Thank you. For boys, be boys.
Amen.
Be boys. It's okay. Be boys. There's nothing wrong with being a boy. Boys will be boys, and there's nothing wrong with that. If as Black women, we felt that we were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as Black women, why would we want to do that to other women? Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my beauty. Do you understand?
I just want to just vomit. Like, I cannot stand it. So that happened this year. I don't know what's going on there. People say she switched up. I actually don't think she switched up. I think she's doing what she's done. She's being selfish and self-serving and doing whatever she can to make it work. So whatever. The other thing that happened recently, released in December here, Dave Chappelle released The Unstoppable. I would say Dave Chappelle is in his George Carlin era. His last few specials have been very Carlin-esque. If you are a fan of comedians and their work, you'll know that George Carlin is the best to do it in terms of social and political commentary that made it also funny. And Dave Chappelle is doing that. He is interweaving his own personal stories and also doing social commentary. And I think he is doing it at a high level. And so I recommend that you watch it if you are so inclined. You might learn something. Still on the fence about his take on trans persons, but outside of that, I think it's pretty clear what he's trying to do in his work now, and I laud and applaud it. When you get a chance, when you're at a certain level in your career where you are top of your game, the guy to look at, it is important to use your platform, and I would say try to use it responsibly. Comedy is hard these days, but I think artists speak for and to the people, and I think he's trying to do that. Another interesting story that happened this year, later on in the year, actually. This was very interesting. Let me see if I can find the image. It was interesting because, like just a couple days ago, things went sideways. You'll see what I'm talking about when I pull up the image. Just a couple days ago, things went so sideways that it was like actually really sad to see. I'm talking about the the Anthony Joshua. That's what I'm talking about. And here we are. Needed this image. So we saw Anthony Joshua. He broke script while fighting against Jake Paul. I think the intention was supposed to go like the Tyson fight, where they just play around, play around, play around, play around. Jake looks good, Joshua looks okay, but Joshua got tired after a while and said, "I'm done. Like I'm done playing with this guy. He's not a real boxer." So he was a heavyweight professional boxer, and this match, went on, and the fight took place on December 19 at the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida. The fight was set to last 8 3-minute rounds and was fought with 10-ounce gloves. The fight was broadcast on Netflix, and the purse has been reported to be $184 million. Now, here's the lesson that comes from this. Just a couple days ago, Anthony Joshua was in a car accident in Nigeria and lost 2 of his closest friends, almost lost his life. He was in the back of the vehicle. The vehicle made a direct collision into the back of a parked vehicle. Rumor is that they were speeding and driving recklessly and so on. And his story shows you how in just the squint of an eye, in just a moment, your entire life can go from extreme high to as much as death, to extreme high to extreme low in no time. So it really, I'm curious to hear from him coming out of this, because leading into the match, into the fight, he was talking about like the value of things in life, that it doesn't matter, these matches don't matter, nothing matters, friend and family and so on. And to see this happen, like really is a moment to pause. So wishing him well, and it seems that he came out almost unscathed. I saw him being lifted out a lot around this story, because persons are saying this accident also brings into question what is happening on the ground in Nigeria with healthcare, because it was not an ambulance that rescued him. He was lifted out by regular folk and put into a police vehicle and rushed to the hospital. So there's so much there, and I'm sure in 2026 we'll hear more. I'm looking forward to hearing from him, because for the high that he came off of for that fight to this low, there must be a lesson here. He must walk away from this accident changed. A lot of people thought that the money that he was going to get, like I think he's going to end up with like $45 million from the fight. A lot of people are like, oh, that's going to change his life. Trust me, this accident for sure will change his life. So that was interesting to see this year. Crazy. That one will linger with me for a while. The other thing that happened this year in Jamaica and dancehall culture, Massacre versus Tommy Lee Sparta. There are a couple tracks that I need you to listen to from Massacre. He is saying more than just clash stuff. He's saying more than just lyrical battle stuff. He is going after the GOAT. The supposed GOAT is Vibes Cartel, and I'm telling you, he went for him. So go back, search online, and listen to that entire feud. At some point, it wasn't even a fair match, to tell you the truth. The other thing that happened this year was the Diddy documentary that came out. 50 Cent was the executive producer for it. I think it's called Sean Combs' The Reckoning. I watched it and I gave a review prior, like the show before this. So you can go back and look at my review of it. The other thing that happened this year that was crazy, it happened in broad daylight. Robbery at the Louvre. October 2025, a daring daylight robbery occurred at the Louvre Museum in Paris, where masked thieves disguised as construction workers used a lift and an angle grinder to steal 8 pieces of French crown jewels valued at around 88 million euros from the Apollo Gallery in under 8 minutes. It's some pro stuff. This stuff you watch in TV, in shows, in movies. In 8 minutes, it says this is a major security failure that led to multiple arrests, but no recovery of the jewels. This was added to Interpol's database. Very interesting. Where's that? Where did it go? Because you can't just sell that. Like you can't just sell that. So you're gonna be sitting on that for a little bit. Like, I'd be curious. I'd be curious where this ends up, but I really want to know, how did you pull off an 8-minute robbery in broad daylight in the Louvre? So I'm sure they're revisiting their security there. The other thing that happened this year, Hunter Biden, President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, the one who's had challenges with, substance use, he has come out swinging. He's sober and swinging. He has decided that he has no holds barred when he's doing interviews. He's talking the Tings. I saw a recent interview that he did where he's calling out everybody in the Citolini administration. He's calling them out. He's calling them out for being undereducated and underqualified for their roles. Hunter has gone for the jugular, and I love it. I love it. The other thing I love that has happened this year, South Park came back with a bang. Just after signing on the dotted line for their deal, they came back out and they went for the Citolini guy. They went for him. Right now, like, I haven't been keeping up because I'm only watching it through clips. But the major theme was that the president was having an affair with Satan. You should pay attention to JD Vance's character in it. Like, hilarity for days. Like, they launched with an episode where they were talking about the size of his what. They've been doing some stuff. But here's the thing that really got me this week. So Citolini is trying to put his name on the Kennedy Center. Well, a writer from South Park, one of the creative persons at South Park, purchased the domain name TrumpKennedyCenter.com because he anticipated that this was going to happen. So he purchased the domain name. So if they want to set up a website now under this new name, he has the domain. I love it. I love that level of pettiness. Love it. So South Park keeps on giving, I'm telling you. South Park keeps on giving. Other things that I wanted to highlight, something that I just learned about that I think is interesting. We want to applaud the achievement of Jamaican-born artist Melissa Colby, who became the first ever Black artist to create imagery for the U.S. Open tennis tournament and reimagined indentureship and identity through a powerful art exhibition in Trinidad and Tobago. So that's it for the arts in a formal way. And how I want to close out today. 2 things. Of course, I want to, give you my greetings at the end, but I want to do a bit of a obituary in memoriam, if you would like. There are a bunch of persons that we lost this year, and I'm going to run down the list. I may show you some pictures of some of them, but I'm going to run down the list. First up, but not first to pass this year, actually one of the last to pass this year, was a Jamaican musical icon of the highest order. Like words cannot express. Words cannot express. I'll just say is songs like The Harder They Come, songs like You Can Get It If You Really Want. All of those came from him. I'm talking about the legendary Jimmy Cliff, who was born in St. James, Jamaica, and he passed away this year, sadly, and we will miss him. We will miss him significantly. The other stalwarts that passed away this year, Max Romeo. Max Romeo also passed away. He's another reggae icon out of Jamaica. If you know, you know. So we'll miss him as well. That was a significant loss as well to the music fraternity. You know, I don't know what happened this year, man, but we lost some big names. We lost some like really, really big names. Another person that we lost here is Coco T. I really, really love Jimmy Cliff and Coco T. Like, really, really, really love them. Jimmy Cliff was literally the soundtrack for my life, and Coco T was vibes. Every time you saw Coco T live, you were like, oh my goodness, I forgot he had all of that, all of those songs in his repertoire. Just talent and music for days. Same with Jimmy Cliff. Rest in peace, Coco T. We miss, and we appreciate. We appreciate all the work that these folks have given to music, to our lives. Another person who we lost this year, and let me see if I can find these images. That's the other thing. I don't want to hold us up searching through images. But another person we lost this year sung one of my favorite songs, and so I really wanted to pull him up and pay homage. It's this guy, Determine. He sings this song, kete drum, make me hear the sound. Beat, kete drum, I make it one down, Rome. Yeah, so Determined passed away this year. Very sad. We'll miss them and the work that they do. Another person who passed was Carmen de la Valade. She was 94, so she lived a full life. She died on December 29th. She performed with the American Ballet Theatre, the Metropolitan Opera, and shared the stage with other renowned entertainers such as Alvin Haley, Lena Horne, Josephine Baker, and more. She also passed away just recently. I don't know what's going on with all the icons passing. Like, so sad and frustrating to see, because we can't replace them. But I do hope that those of us who know their music will treasure the works that they left behind, because some of it was really good stuff. And we'll try to keep it alive in different ways and supporting it in different ways, because the talent that they gave the world was unmatched. So I do hope that we will treasure them and remember them as the years go by. Don't forget them. Don't forget the greats. They've made their impact, and it's quite valuable. So, here she is. This is an older image of her. I just feel it when we lose artists, creatives, culturally specific and significant persons. Really hurts me. So rest in peace to her as well. Just a recent passing. We have some other folks that have passed away this year, and hopefully I can pull up their picture faster. Let's see. So here's a significant one. This is Viola Fletcher, 109-year-old. She was a survivor of the Tulsa race massacres. Those of you who don't know enough American history, please look it up and look her up. She was one of the remaining survivors that was fighting for justice for the survivors of the Tulsa massacre. And we lost her this year. So I don't know how that impacts the fight. Also, I'm a little bit concerned about where the legal issues go there. But rest in peace, Miss Viola Fletcher. We also had some activists pass away this year, actually significant names, you know. Hopefully I can bring up images for you. These are significant. Let me see if it's here. I didn't realize one of them that passed away. So this is one of them. H. Rap Brown, he's an American human rights activist known as Jamil Abdullah Al Amin. He was the chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, otherwise known as SNCC. So he passed away this year. Yeah. You know, if you know anything about Black American histories, and you know anything about the Black Panther movement and the SNCC movement, you will know that he was a significant figure in his time, and he's done his time. He has passed away. Another significant person who passed away this year. I hope to bring her up. A lot of people used to confuse her. They thought she was Tupac Shakur's mom and all kind of stuff. So let me pull her up. Asada Shakur, to her all the way down to her passing, she maintained that she was innocent. She's activist. She was a Black Panther member and noted revolutionary. She died in Cuba where she was in exile. She was 78 years old. So Asada Shakur, we lost her this year. She maintained she was innocent. She also got shot in her back, so there might be some truth there. How do you shoot a murderer in their back? Anyway, so she passed away. Also, who passed away this year? This one, if you know me, you knew I literally shed tears for this one. Malcolm Jamal Warner, known best for playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. He died July 21st. He was in Costa Rica on a family trip and died in an accidental drowning while swimming. He was also in The Resident. I really appreciated his later work as an actor and his work in poetry and his work in music. Really, really appreciated that. And, I'm still actually shook. I'm still actually shook about his passing. Another person who passed this year was Ananda Lewis. Some people may know her as an MTV VJ. She was on a BT talk show series known as Teen Summit. She passed away battling breast cancer. It was a little bit controversial because she didn't want to do chemo and all this other stuff. So, her passing was interesting. Interesting conversations about how you handle your body when you're going through these things. Another person who passed away was Sly Stone from Sly the Family Stone. Sly Stone was a founding member of the band Sly and the Family Stone. He passed away June 9th at age 82, and he had COPD, and other health issues. So he didn't pass away quite healthy. But yeah, he made an impact as well. Another person who made an impact who passed away this year, don't know if I'll be able to find his image for you, but he also did one of my favorite songs. I have a lot of favorite songs, guys, so you'll find that. Whenever I say this, like, don't take me on it. But yeah, he passed away, and I'm trying to find his image. I feel like it's close. It must be this one. Yeah. So Roy Ayers. He's known for his 1976 hit "Everybody Loves the Sunshine." You know that song. You must know that song. That song became a massive hit and classic. So rest in peace, Roy Ayers. Man, we lost some great ones this year, I'm telling you. And so, as I do this in memoriam, I'm like literally revisiting some of the songs in my brain and feeling sad about them again. And we, the losses just kept going this year, I swear. And there was no end in sight, I feel, for quite a few of them. But that's how it is. What are you gonna do? We can't live forever. Nobody lives forever. Speaking of which, Angie Stone. Angie Stone passed away this year. R&B songstress. She died the morning of March 1 following an auto accident. It was a very horrible accident. And guess who also died later this year was D'Angelo. She has a child with D'Angelo. And so he lost both parents in the space of, I think it was like 6 or 7 months. So that's pretty sad. So Angie Stone and D'Angelo, rest in peace. We also had a couple greats pass. Roberta Flack, Grammy-winning singer and R&B legend. She was also Richard Smallwood's grade 8 music teacher. She taught him piano as well. And guess what? He passed away on December 30th. Passed away yesterday. So he had kidney failure. She had multiple things. I think she was even diagnosed with ALS, if I'm not mistaken. So she passed away. And he passed away. Like, how did we get here, folks? How did we get here with so much loss? This year was the year. I feel like the last few years we lose like heavy hitters, like stalwarts. Just gone. And he and Roberta Flack in the same year. That's almost too much for my head to take. So here is Richard Smallwood. I wish I could play music for you, but on YouTube, they will shut down my stream for copyright. But let me go over some of the songs I love. Total Praise. Total Praise. I saw people circulating the song that Whitney sang in Preacher's Wife. Why can't I remember it right now? Like hits after hits. Like if you go through his catalog, your head will spin. Actually, let me bring it up because like last night I was close to tears. Last night I was really close to tears. I've become a sap in my old age. In my older years, not old age. So Richard Smallwood, let me pull him up because there's some hits, like he has songs with Kirk Franklin and the Family that I love. Let me go through. Just jog your memory. One of my favorite songs before Total Praise. Before Total Praise came on the scene, it was The Center of My Joy. I was in choir. We used to sing this song as a choir song, and our lead was Roland Watson Grant. Can't forget him doing that lead. Center of My Joy. Oh. Then he had Anthem of Praise, praise him with a Timberland dance. Then he had songs like I Will Sing Praises. He had songs like Healing. Ooh, there's a bomb in Gilead. Yeah. How Great Thou Art. Calvary. Fantasia does a really good version of that. Oh, How He Loves You and Me. That's a classic. That's like some old time classic. His Mercy Endured Forever. At the Table, Psalm 8. Guys, when I tell you, when I come off this live, I'm going to go down the Richard Smallwood rabbit hole because it was a significant loss. He was 77, lived a fairly good life. If it wasn't for health concerns, maybe he would still, have more years to give us, because he was certainly pushing, even when he was 75 and so on. And just before I went live this evening, I got a message from a friend in Jamaica to let me know that Alma Mok Yen has passed away. She's a noted broadcaster and media trainer and university lecturer from Jamaica. She was 97, full life. She had a brief illness. She was a founding member, soloist, and choreographer for the celebrated Ivy Baxter Modern Creative Dance Group. Rest in peace to all these persons. And needless to say, that's not the entire list. I'm trying to keep it arts, music, and cultural, but we lost a lot of people. Some of you may have lost family members. I've been to quite a few funerals this year. It was quite the doozy. And so as I leave you, I hope for you that your 2026 will be grander, better, more abundant, more exciting, finding joy in the little and the big things. May you have all your wishes come true. If you're a goal setter, may your goals be knocked off throughout the year one by one. You accomplish them. Don't put any pressure on yourself. I've decided this year not to put any pressure on myself. I'm not writing down anything so far. I might change my mind at midnight, but right now I'm just like, I know there are two major things I want to accomplish, and that's my focus right now. One of the major things I need to accomplish is getting off this live and go and getting my house ready to meet the new year. So I wish you all well, and thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you throughout the year. Taught the Tings as a show. Also, the vlog may return because they're going to be like little snippets that I want to, put out there from time to time. But the show, I hope to continue making it a weekly as we go into the new year. And I hope you will join me on the journey. It will be newsy, it will be politics, it will be arts, it will be culture, but I also will, have like special feature shows. I want to discuss grief because that's something that I've been dealing with for the last few years since my dad died. And so I'm going to have a specialist on to talk about that. And I'm going to have a specialist. I'm going to have artist features. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to talk the things about everything. So I thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in 2026. Wishing you and your families all the best, and may all your dreams, hopes, and wishes come true. If you're going out on the road, be very careful, especially if you're in North America. You know how the reckless driving happens when people start drinking. In Toronto, it's going to be a cold night, so I'm definitely staying in, and we'll just be chilling. You guys have a good one. See you soon. That has been it for me on Taught the Tings. I'm Dee. See you soon.